Pleasant morning, everybody. Pleasant morning. Pleasant morning, everybody.
Pleasant morning. Pleasant morning.
Welcome, welcome, one and all. Welcome, everybody. Welcome. Just have a few other guys joining in. We're gonna
Good morning, everyone. Morning.
Good morning, guys. Good morning.
Morning,
and
morning,
ladies also. Good morning.
Pleasant morning.
Pleasant morning, everybody. You guys, please keep your mics your mics muted, please. Thank you. Morning, everybody. Morning. Good morning. Morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome. My name is Dion Lafuka, Technical Director of the Trinidad Football Association. It gives me great pleasure to welcome each and every one of you here today for our Everybody In coaching seminars. And I will introduce our guests in a little bit. I would like to start with a little prayer. Dear God, thank you for this opportunity to have Coach Arnar join us this morning. We thank you for the coaches who are able to join us. We pray that everybody is safe, and we pray that this pandemic is soon behind us. In Jesus' name we pray, amen. So without any further ado, I would like to introduce to everybody our feature speaker, Arnar Gunnarsson, who is the Technical Director of the Icelandic Football Association. Arnar, welcome.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Do you want me to take over from here, or?
Yeah, yes, please. Go ahead, please.
They make a 10-minute speech about my fantastic football career, but I'll do that myself. Nice to see you all, guys, people. Greetings from Iceland. We were talking about the weather here earlier. In Iceland now it's 15 degrees Celsius, which is a really good summer day. It's like a very bad winter for you guys, I think. Yeah, my name is Arnar Bill Gunnarsson. I'm the head of coach education in Iceland. I used to be the technical director. I do not have that position anymore. I've been at the FA since 2013, and it really has been a roller coaster since then, because the men's team, they qualified to the first European tournament in 2016, and in 2018 all the way to the World Cup, and being by far the smallest country to do so in history. I was heavily involved in the project. I was one of the scouts, traveling all over the world to watch football. Not the worst job in the world. So it was fantastic. And I'm gonna spend the next 45 minutes or so to explain really how such a small nation can compete with the best nations in the world. So I'm gonna share my screen now. Optimize for video clip. Here we go. Share. I'm going to do it again. I forgot to open the. Okay, here we go. So here's share the screen. Here we go. All right. Does everybody see this?
Yes, we can. Yes, we can.
Excellent. Started on the wrong end of the presentation. There we are. Okay, everybody ready? Excellent. Then we go. So just to start with, I'm going to show you where on the map Iceland is. You probably, well, I have no idea actually if you have any idea how Iceland is situated, but it's here, way up north in the Atlantic Ocean. And the way it's situated has really a big effect on our football culture. We're way up north with 66 degrees north, and it's not a summer tropical island, I can promise you that. And this has a really big effect on our football culture. Start with some facts and figures just to get to know Iceland a little bit better. The population is about 368,000, which makes us the 7th smallest of the 55 UEFA countries. And we have about 30,000 registered players. which is about 8% of the whole population. And these are players who are registered in clubs and compete for clubs. These are not players who play for fun in the afternoon. For example, old guys like me who rent a football pitch somewhere and have fun. Those guys are not in this number. So I would say people playing football in Iceland are more like 50,000. And football is by far the most popular sport in Iceland as well. I think golf is number 2. Of those 30,000 players, we have about 20,000 males and about 10,000 females. This is a round up number. And this is probably one of the highest percentage of female players in any country, at least in Europe. And we are proud of this, but still we feel it should be 50-50, because football is not just a game for men. And if we take the age group from 5 up to 35 years old in Iceland, you get 16% of all those people playing football, 16%. And if you take the age group, the grassroots, if you just take 5 to 16 years old, 30% of all those kids play football. So it's a big sport in Iceland. And here is a fact: we only have 47 clubs that have a youth system, and total number of active clubs is about 70. So the FA really pretty much only has to deal with those 47 clubs on a daily basis. The other 23 are clubs with only male players playing for fun in the lower leagues. So we are a small country, and we used to say, when we were not doing well in sports and in football especially, we say, well, it's difficult, we're so few. But over the last years, we have been finding out that being few is such a strength as well. For me, working in football, I only need to be in contact with 47 clubs. It's easy to organize. And that's one of many things that is very positive of being few. Obviously, it's good to have a big number of players. It's more likely that you get good players, but it's what you do with those players you have. We have about 600 active coaches who take care of to take care of those 30,000 players. Obviously, we have many more coaches in Iceland, but active at the moment are about 600. Okay. The men's team at the moment are number 52 in the FIFA ranking lists, and the Icelandic women's team is number 17. The women's team has been doing really well for years. It has been on top 20 for many years. It's been to the last 3 European tournaments. Never qualified for the World Cup though. Few years back, maybe 3 years back, both the men's team and the women's team were top 20 in the world. And we were one of 8 nations who were on top 20. Then we're talking about Brazil, England, Germany, and then Iceland. So that was quite an achievement. Today we are 52nd. I believe the list pretty much shows where we're supposed to be. The senior football, it's semi-professional. The players, they get paid for playing football, but most of them have another job or are at the university. So there are very few full-time professional players. We obviously have some foreign players coming, and most of them in the highest leagues are fully professional, but the league is still semi-professional, but it's getting more professional every day. It's always more and more money coming in, but still not enough to be fully professional. We have a lot of players abroad, and usually our national team, men's team, all the players are playing abroad in professional clubs. We have about 75 professional players that we are choosing from when we choose our squad of 23 players. And we have a lot of youth players that go early abroad, like 16, 17 years old, and they go to the academies in England and Holland and Denmark. Some of them go all the way and become professional players abroad, but some of them come home again after 1 year because it's a really hard competitive environment, and you really have to have a fantastic mentality to go all the way. The club football, all the clubs are amateurs. There are no professional clubs. There are no clubs that are bigger, much bigger than the others, where all the best players go to. So all the clubs are amateur. They are pretty much owned by the society. There are no rich owners who can buy players or anything. The society owns the clubs. And we don't have any organized football in school. Many countries have school football and school teams, which is a big part of the football culture, but it's not like that in Iceland. You go to the school in the morning, 8 o'clock maybe, and you're finishing at 2 or 3, and then the kids go into the clubs and do the sports. So the sports are in the clubs, but obviously there are sports sessions in the schools, but not organized football trainings or anything like that, no teams. And in Iceland, you pretty much play for your neighborhood club your whole career, at least until you reach the age of 19. When you get 19 years old, you go up to the senior team, and obviously not everyone can play for the senior team. So if you're not good enough, then you have to find another club. But you get born into a neighborhood and you play for that neighborhood club, which is absolutely fantastic, because you play with your friends. And you don't need to switch clubs. Obviously, the smallest clubs, if you are a very good player and in a very small club, at some time you need to switch to one of the bigger clubs. But the service that the clubs are giving is very similar. So there is no need to switch in most cases. So you play with your friends. You play with your friends all the way up till the age of 19. There are very short distances to training session because you play for a neighborhood club. Most kids can walk or take a bike to training session or the bus. So, you know, it takes not longer than 5 minutes in a car to go to a training session, for example. And this is obviously fantastic. Iceland is a small country. There are small distances. You know, in Reykjavik, the capital, it takes 10 minutes to drive to each direction, pretty much. Which is great. And this is one way that we can keep the players longer in football. You're playing with your friends. You're playing. It's easy to go to a training session. So that is really one of our strengths, and one of the strengths of being few, obviously. And all the clubs are multi-sports clubs. So there are more than one sport in the clubs. And this has given us opportunity for the kids to play more than one sport. And we really encourage kids to not specialize too early. We encourage them to try many sports. And it's very common in Iceland to play more than one sport, to play 2 sports, even 3 sports. We will talk more about that later, but this is the culture in Iceland. We don't have any research behind it. There is always the discussion of early specialization is good or not. There are definitely some positive, definitely some negatives. It's very individual what's best for each player. But most kids in Iceland, they don't specialize too early. It's maybe when you're like 14 years old, 15 years old, where you really have to choose which sport you're gonna focus on. But before that, we don't choose. Equality. Equality is a huge word in Iceland. We had the first female president in the world, elected female president in 1981. We have so gender equality and equality is really important for us, and equality that everyone is getting the same is really important as well. And all the clubs, these 47 clubs that have a youth system, they have training sessions for both genders. There are no girls clubs or boys clubs. They all have a program for both boys and girls. They don't train together or play together, but they are allowed, the girls are allowed to play with the boys team, for example. There are the same amount of training sessions for both genders. The service is the same. If a club would give 12-year-old girls 3 sessions a week and the boys 4, it would be a scandal. It would be on the front page of a newspaper. So the society is really demanding. The society takes care of that everyone is getting the service they deserve. And the coaches for the girls, they have the similar qualification as the coaches for the boys. But having a coaching badge, if we take 10 coaches with a UFA license coaching badge, it doesn't mean all of them are equally good coaches. It's the same with a driving license. You know, 2 people have a driving license. One of them is a dangerous driver. The other one is a perfect driver. So they have the same qualification. So unfortunately, we believe that most of the better coaches are coaching the boys, but still the coaches, they have the qualification, and we are always trying to raise the level of coaching, especially on the women's side. The kids, the parents, they pay a fee to be able to play. It's around £500 per year. This is in Iceland not a big number. There are very, very few kids who cannot afford to play, and if they cannot afford, the clubs will just take care of it. They will just let them train. But this doesn't happen very much. There's not a lot of poverty in Iceland, and the municipalities, the town councils, they help. If it costs £500 to train with a 12-year-old team for a year, the parents will pay maybe £350, but the municipalities will pay 150. So the municipalities, they give all the kids at the age of 16, if I remember correct, a possibility and encourage them to go and play sports. It's not just sports, it can also be some arts, it can be painting or music, and you can use this money if you're paying for some kind of like sports or music and things like that. And this is obviously fantastic. So the municipalities are encouraging kids to play football. And this is obviously smart, because if you do sports, you learn how to take care of your body. If you learn how to take care of your body, you know, it's less likely that you will get ill because you are healthy, which takes a pressure off the health system and things like that. So I think the society, even though the municipalities are paying people to play, they get the money back with healthier people and less money to spend on the healthcare. So this is fantastic in my opinion. And there is the same service for all abilities. It doesn't matter if you're a boy or a girl. It doesn't matter if you are tall or small, if you're a really good football player or not very good football player. Everyone gets the same service. You can go to a club. You can be a 17-year-old girl. You never played football. You can go to a club and say, okay, my name is Lisa. I want to try football. And the club has to take you in, and you will get 5 sessions a week with a UFA licensed coach. And we believe that we want to train as many as possible for as long as possible. And this is really important for us because we need all our players. We are not that many. To be fair, I have to say that this mentality has the negative effect that sometimes it's difficult to do more for the best players because the society demands that everyone gets treated fairly. And sometimes if some players are getting more than others, then the parents come in and say, what's going on here? We are paying the same amount, you know? So this has hindered us a little bit doing early training for our kids, but this is always getting better. So there are some pluses and minuses. Now I'm going to show you a video, very short video, which one of the sponsors of Iceland did, the Iceland Air flight company. And it's about equality. It's about how girls have had to fight to get the right to play in Iceland. It wasn't like that in 1970s and 80s. The facilities, the coaches were poorer than the boys. And these are actually stories that the national team players have told. And it's here in a video.
Næst far þú örugglega að fara með. Já. Wow, mamma, sjáðu. Hún langar oft. Já, ég ætla að prófa. Mamma! Það var að stela skónum mínum.
Yeah, can everybody hear me? Hello, can you hear me, somebody?
Yes.
Yes, we can. Yes, we can, Arnar.
Good,
Yeah.
good. It's weird to be talking and not seeing anyone. So I was just, yeah. This video, actually, one of my favorite parts there is when the boys are lifting a big trophy and the girls are lifting a very small one. This actually happened here in I think 3 or 4 years back. There's always a big tournament in a small island outside of the Iceland, and the boys were getting much bigger trophies than the girls, and this became a hot topic. You know, this came on the newspapers, and yeah. So, like I said, equality is big, and it matters. So a little bit about our tournament football. So we play 5v5 from the age when they start. Most of the kids start now in the kindergarten age, 4 or 5 years old, and we play 5v5 up till the age of 10. Then we play 8v8, and we play 11v11 from under 13. We used to play 7v7 from the day they started, but obviously all the research, they show now that, you know, if you have fewer players on the team, everyone gets more touches on the ball and everybody gets better in football. So, and we do a lot of 1v1s, 2v2, 3v3s in our training session, because, you know, we want a lot of 1v1 situation. We want all the kids to get the ball as much as possible, because if you play always 11v11, you know, you don't get many touches on the ball, which means you don't get as good football player as possible. And this here is a huge part of our culture. I said before, it doesn't matter who you are, where you come from, everyone can play, and everyone plays and everyone gets a great service. But we divide in every training session, in every tournament, we divide players into team after ability, after how good they are. The best team from this club the best players from this club will play the best players from the next club. And when we enter tournament, we enter them as an A, B, C, and D teams. So the best players in the A team, the second best in the B, and so on. And this is the culture in Iceland in every sport. This is not a rule, but this is the culture in Iceland. We really believe that you should play with your equals. And if you are the best player and you're too good for your equals, your players in your club, you have to play with the age group above. You're allowed to play with the age group above. So this is absolutely huge part of our culture. Sometimes in training session, we mix the teams up to have fun. And, you know, the parents, they immediately arrive and say, what's going on? My son was playing, or my daughter was playing, and she was playing with players who were way too good for her or way too bad for her. So this is a culture that everybody in Iceland knows, and most of them accept it. Obviously, we need to educate the parents about it, because, you know, you want to play with your friend, but if there's a huge gap in how good they are, you know, it's not good for either of them. In some countries around us, it's not allowed to do this. You have to have all kinds of abilities in teams. But we believe, for example, if you have a 4-4 game, if you have 2 good players and 2 not good players on the team, the not so good players, they won't get the ball, and the good players will get frustrated when they lose the ball, and so they don't want the ball, and they get frustrated as well. And, you know, so play with your equals is a huge thing in Iceland. It's not a rule, and obviously when the kids are very young, if they want to play with their friends, if it's an issue, obviously we will listen and we try to figure something out. But we do it all the way from day one. We do it with the 5-year-olds. You know, there's a training session, and if there's a game, and we don't hesitate to split them up after ability. So, for example, a training session with 50 boys in the age group under 12, we will split them into 4 groups: the best 12, the second best 12, and so on. And they will train together with their coaches. So this is one thing that's very important to us. And we compete. We love to compete. In many countries, it's not allowed to keep the score until you're like 12 or 14 years old. But in Iceland, we keep the score. Not always. We have big tournaments in the summer where you can actually go and win a trophy, even you're a 7-year-old. But most of the tournaments for the youngest kids are, you come in, you play like 4 or 5 games for 2 hours, and you go home. And then we don't keep the score. But we believe competing is good. And I also believe that when the kids are playing 7-year-old and you are not keeping the score, they know the score. They know who are the best players. So competition is good. Okay. Our tournament football, we have the longest preseason in the world, we believe. It's 7 months. It's because we play a league during the summer because of the weather. So the season usually starts in the beginning of May or the end of April, and it ends in the end of September or beginning of October. Then we usually take 1 month off, and then comes a 6-month preseason. And we play a lot of games during the preseason. I will talk about that a little bit later. But this is definitely a problem for us because we don't play as many games as competitive games as the countries around us. We have about 5 men's league and 3 women's leagues for the senior football. The coaches, you guys, all the coaches in Iceland are professional, meaning that they get paid, and they have qualifications. Few of them are fully professional. Few of them are full-time coaches. Most of them do a regular daytime job, and they go and coach in the afternoon. You have to have a qualification in Iceland to be able to coach. It's not like if you want to start coaching some 7-year-olds, you're not allowed without the qualifications. But the society is very demanding. The parents, they demand quality, which means that the clubs, they feel the pressure and they send all their coaches to the FA to take the coaching batches. So this is a fantastic culture. So all the coaches who start coaching, they go to the courses with the Icelandic FA. We have in our licensing system, to be able to be the first coach for the under 12s and 10 and younger, you have to have a B license. And I think we're the only country in Europe that has so big demands. And the reason we do it is because we can, and there are so many coaches who do the courses, and you know, in many countries there are parents coaching, volunteer coaching until the age of 12. But in Iceland, we have professional coaches. Even the assistant coaches, the kids who are maybe playing with the under 19s, they are assistant coaches with maybe under 7 team, they get paid as well. There are no volunteer coaches. There are no parent coaches. But we use the parents as volunteers in other things. For example, organizing tournaments, organizing trips and things like that, buying the kits and things like that. So volunteers are very important to us, but there are no volunteers coaching. And how can we do this? It's because the municipalities, they build and they own the facilities. So we don't need to use the money that the kids pay to run the facilities. We use the fee to pay the salaries of the coaches, to pay for the equipment. But the pitches are owned by the municipalities. The municipality says, okay, we just built you a new artificial pitch. Now you have to go and give a good service to the people in the society, in our town. And the clubs, they run the facilities, but the municipalities, they give the clubs money to run them. So all the money that the kids or parents are paying to play goes to the salaries of the coaches. It's not a high salary job, but it's a good salaries extra. Like I said before, usually this is a second job they have. 70% of all our active coaches have the UFOB license and 30% have the UFA license. I don't know how familiar you're with these licenses. Dion is at least knows about it, and I don't know if you know about it, but this is a really high number in Europe, and this is very important to us. And this is definitely, without a question, one of the biggest reasons how Iceland can compete with the best nations in the world. There's qualified coaches. And this is the part that sets us apart, in my opinion. Every kid gets a qualified coach from day one. Like I said before, in the other Scandinavian countries, Sweden, Denmark, Norway, for example, there are parents volunteering, coaching up to the age of 12. I know why it is, because most of the money that the clubs get goes into facilities, so they can't afford to have coaches. But with our system, we can afford it, and every kid gets a qualified coach from day one. And this is so important, and it's so important to have good coaches on the youngest kids. When you start playing, you go to a training session. If the training session is fun, and there's good discipline, and it's a safe environment, the kids will fall in love with the game. If they fall in love with the game, they will go play football outside of the organized training session. And this is where they get good. You know, it's fantastic to go 3 times a week into a club and train, and you will become a better player. But you will not become a professional player only training 3 or 4 times a week. You have to be with the ball 24/7. So if you're getting good service in a club, good coaches who inspire you, it's more likely that you love the game, you take the ball after the training session, you go out and play with your friends. Street football. Absolutely vital. And this is the reason why we can compete. One of them, at least. Qualified coaches for all the kids. And in the past, we used to have the least experienced coaches on the least experienced kids, that is in the beginning. But today we acknowledge that having a good coach in the beginning, you know, who teaches the kids how to train, they teach them the discipline, they teach them and help them to fall in love with the game. It's so important. So I would recommend, if you have a good coach who likes coaching the youngest kids, pay him well, you know, keep him. It's such an important coach. Don't spend all your money on the coaches who are coaching the oldest ones, because this is the foundation. It's so important. And obviously in Iceland, like in every other country, those who start training the kids, most of them want to go higher up and go from the 5-a-side football to the 11-a-side football. That's normal. But sometimes you find you find the coach who enjoys coaching the youngest one. So he really keep fast to that player. Okay. This is how we train in the volume that is. The kindergarten kids, they usually have 1 or 2 training sessions a week. During the summer, they would get up to 3. The 7 to 10-year-olds, they train 3 times a week, and they're 4 times in the summer, and so on. In the under 19s, you get 5 or 6 sessions a week. You get a strength program and things like that. This is, I believe, on normal numbers. But what we have is our kids, they start young, and there are a lot of additional trainings. Like I said before, there's no football in schools. Obviously, when there's a break, the kids go out and play. But there are sports. So each kid get 2 sports sessions a week plus 1 swimming lesson. So each kid will get 3 sessions a week in the school where there's some physical activity. And so you have a kid, like a 10-year-old kid, who has 3 football sessions a week during the winter. Then he has those 3 sessions a week in school. And then there's the other sport, like I told you about earlier. Then you might have gymnastics, athletics, handball, basketball, golf, whatever. So it's normal in Iceland to have 10 organized sessions a week. And when you're young, this is no problem. There's no worries of fatigue or too much training. These are 1 hour session. It's fun. You know, the kids are young and healthy and lightweighted, and, you know, but the only kids we need to take care of are the best ones who are maybe training with football and also with the age group above. They're maybe also the best handball players playing handball and above. Then you have to step in and say, okay, this is too much. We need to make a special program for you. So we do a lot of activities, and early specialization is not very, we don't believe in that in Iceland. Okay. Next, there's another video. It's about the boys. There was another sponsor who made this. It's a nice video. It's about, we have some videos of those players when they were young, and then again in similar situation when they're playing with the A national team. So this is just a short, nice video.
Við setjum inn fyrir Kolbeinn með snúningin endin. Kolbeinn!
Svo gefðu allt sem þú átt.
Skóla! Kolbeinn!
Ekkert á nervinis fæst. Gefðu allt sem þú átt. Þannig markmiðið næst. Gefðu allt sem þú átt. Draumurinn
Í 30 ár höfum við hlúð að grasrótinni og erum stolt af árangrinum. En nei.
All right, the facilities. When I was growing up, I am 46 years old. When I was growing up, I was playing football in 1995. There were no, football was only a winter sport. No, sorry, a summer sport, obviously. It wasn't a whole year sport. We played football during the summer, but we played other sports during the winter. We might have maybe 1 football trainings a week during the winter in a sports hall, playing like kind of futsal, but it was no way to play, you know, 11-a-side football during the winter. When I got older, we were running outside doing weightlifting, but still doing other sports during the winter. But then around year 2000, the indoor football hall came. Before that, we had some full-size artificial pitches in Reykjavik area, but now we have much better facilities, and our first full-size indoor hall came in the year 2000. Now we have 8 of those and several smaller ones, about 30 football artificial pitches, and about 130 mini pitches, which I will talk about later. This has obviously changed everything for us. This is one of the reasons that we have gotten better in football, but still, the players who went to the World Cup, they were 12, 14 years old when the halls were coming. So you can't really just point at the football indoor halls and say, this is the reason. So, but this has helped us a lot. This is very important for us. Even though we're in Iceland, here in Reykjavik area where 200,000 people live, there's not a lot of snow during the winter. So, for example, my older son, who is 15, he trains 4 times a week outdoors during the winter. And last winter, which was very good for us, I think we only had to cancel 2 sessions because there was too much snow. The pitches are heated underneath. We have a lot of hot water in Iceland which is natural water because we have all those volcanoes. So there's a lot of hot water in the ground, and we just drill for the hot water and we use it and we pump it underneath the pitches to melt the snow. So, so the facilities have gotten much, much better. And this is one of the reasons why we have become better. And we are really excited to see the generation who have grown up with football becoming the holiest sport. So I think those players will be even better. But then again, all nations are making good players. So hopefully we will manage to keep our quality. Here are some pictures. This is one of those mini pitches. The Icelandic FA got some support from FIFA, and together with the municipalities, they have built a pitch similar to this one outside of almost every school in Iceland. So during the break in school, they go and play on these pitches, and after school, and when there's not a football session, they go and play on these pitches. This is fantastic. So there is no excuse during the winter not to go play football, even though the weather isn't good. You can always go out and play on these pitches, and I think this is absolutely fantastic. Here you see it's not a good picture, but this is where you can see over the town Grindavik. There are 3,000 people living in Grindavik, and here's the main stadium. I don't know if you see my pointer. It doesn't matter. The main stadium has a tribune with seats for 1,800 people in a town where 3,000 people live, which is crazy. I actually doubt that they ever filled the. I think they have never filled the tribune. There are 2 or 3 grass pitches. You can see there's a swimming pool. Every town in Iceland, even though there are only 50 people living there, they have a swimming pool. And it's an outdoor swimming pool because the water is hot. So the water is maybe 34 to 6 degrees. We have a lot of hot tubs. And there's a big culture in Iceland using the swimming pools. It doesn't mean we are fantastic swimming people. We don't go there to swim. We go there to relax and for the kids to play. Obviously, there are some people swimmers. Me personally, I sometimes swim, but I find it very boring because I get so tired. The only thing I can do is just count the rounds I'm swimming. So I like running instead. But the culture in Iceland is very sports driven. In the down right corner, there's a sports hall. Every town in Iceland has a sports hall where you can play basketball, handball. You have the swimming pool where everybody goes. Even though there's minus 15 degrees outside, we go to the swimming pool because the water is hot. So here you see fantastic facilities. And the building behind the tribune, this is an indoor hall with a half a size pitch with an artificial pitch inside. So this is for a town of 3,000 people. And to be fair, this is a crazy facilities for such a small town. Here is a small video on how the weather in Iceland can become in an instant. Sometimes the weather forecast is okay, but then this suddenly happens. Yeah, this was more for fun. This doesn't happen a lot, but sometimes we have to cancel games because of weather. In this video, the substitutes were sitting on the bench, and it was like they didn't see that all the players had run inside, so no players on the pitch anymore. So, like you all know, you can have all the quality in the world in football, but if the head is not strong, nothing will happen. So the mentality is a huge factor in every professional player, every player's pathway. And you can, in my opinion, you can, I think if you watch a training session with like, let's just say 20 players, if you watch them train for 3 or 4 times, you can say, okay, these 4 players, they have a chance of becoming a really good player. But you don't know until they're like 18, 19 years old, because you can have all the talent in the world, but if your mentality isn't good enough, you don't have any chance. And the mentality of Icelandic players is one of the strengths. If you ask a coach abroad who have been coaching Icelandic players and you say, okay, now you have been coaching this player for 2 years, how would you describe them? They never talk about the technique. They never talk about the tactics. They always talk about the mentality. They always say, such a hard workers, great attitude towards training, always give their best. So none of the Icelandic players get a high five because they have good techniques. They always get mentioned because of the mentality. Our captain, Arnar Bill Gunnarsson, who has played in the English Premier League, when he was young, he went to AZ Alkmaar in Holland, which is a fantastic development club. I went there to watch him train, and he was training with the under 16 or 17 team. And you can easily see that he was by far the worst player technically on the pitch. You know, they had 20 players, fantastic dribblers, good players, but he was the captain of both the under 17 and the 19. And they absolutely loved him. He was the first player on the team sheet every time, just because of the mentality. His technique is okay, but he has been a professional player all his career because his head is fantastic. You know, he's as good, so good mentality. And now the question is, you know, what do you do to get this mentality? It's not, we don't coach this intentionally, at least. This is in the culture. We give our kids a pat on the back if they do something, you know, like work hard. It's nice to do a dribble, and obviously you get a pat on the back with that, but you always get a good compliment if you are working hard. It's very important. And when we play football, the national teams are playing football, everybody has to run. We cannot afford to have 1 or 2 luxury players who are only good with the ball and not without it. We need warriors in every position. These are the best players in Iceland. Sara Björk Gunnarsdóttir, the woman on the right, she has been playing with the best teams in Europe. She is a European champion with Nyon in France. She also won it with Wolfsburg in Germany. Fantastic player, but her mentality is, she's not technically gifted, but she's a warrior. Gylfi Sigurðsson on the left, he is not our captain, he's a vice captain, but you know, he plays in the English Premier League. He's by far our best player technically, definitely. He scored most of the goals, he assists, but he also runs the most. He was second, I think, in 2 or 3 seasons in a row in the English Premier League in covering meters in a match, average. He runs and he fights. Even though he has good skills, he runs. And if those 2 people are running, the other players, because these are the best players on the team, the other players are thinking, okay, if he's running, I have to run. And they are fantastic role models in that sense. Here are some quotes. I will make you read them yourself. Ole Gunnar was a coach in Norway, and he used to coach Icelandic players. And another quote from Lars Lagerbäck, who is a Swedish coach who took over in Iceland in 2014 and was the main person behind that the Icelandic team went to the Euros. So if you read this, you see neither of them are talking about how fantastic football players they are. Talking about good attitude and good personalities, sorry. So a little bit about our national teams, what we do. Over the years, we never had a red line in what we do. The reason has always been that because we are so few, every coach, every national team coach has to adapt the style of play after the group of players they have. For example, if the A national team always play 4-4-2, then we have an under-17 team who don't have 2 good strikers. There's no use doing that. But we have changed a little bit now. We have some guidelines regarding how we play, but we don't have any guidelines about the formations. You know, we want We want to be good counter-attacking, and we need to be good in set pieces and things like that, because we are always, our positional game is not as good as other teams. If we would try to do like Barcelona, we would be a terrible replica. You know, we are not good at keeping the ball, but we can be good at something else. But most of the things are up to the national team coaches. But outside of the pitch is very important as well. How do we behave? How do we train? How do we handle the free time? This is very important. And one of the things that was the key to the success of the Icelandic national team was when Lars Lagerbäck, the Swedish coach, came in. He sat down with all the players and all the staff, and together they made guidelines. He doesn't want to call it rules. He said guidelines. And because the players and the staff decided the guidelines, how to behave, how to conduct themselves, nobody was willing to break those guidelines. So, you know, it's a clever thing to do. So everyone is going the same direction. We start our scouting. We start watching the players when they're under 13. The national team coaches, they go around the island twice during a season, and 20% of all the players under 13 and 14 are chosen to come to training session. So, you know, there's no way that we miss out on a talent in Iceland. And because we have this A, B, C, and D system, everybody gets minutes to play. So we don't lose out on any players. There are no players that quit because they don't get chosen into some academies and things like that. And if we miss out on a talent, somebody will call us and just tell us, hey, this guy or this girl here in this town is playing really well. And we will know about it. But our problem is, because we're situated way up north in the Atlantic Ocean, we need more games. It's very expensive to play a national team game for us. We have to fly to every game, and the experience of playing a national team game is, you know, you can't value it. It's incredible. So for some countries in Europe, they just jump on a bus and drive to the next country and play a game. We need to fly everywhere, which is expensive. So our problem is that we don't play as many national team matches as our neighbors do. The men's team, how can such a small team go all the way to the World Cup? We were in a group with Croatia, with Ukraine, Turkey, and only the top team went straight to the World Cup, and that was us. We won this group. Croatia went to the World Cup through playoffs and ended up in the second place in the World Cup 2018. So we definitely had a golden generation. The players we had is a golden generation. There's no point behind it. We had very experienced coaches. Lars Lagerbäck, he had already gone 5 times to a World Cup or European tournament with Sweden and Nigeria. So he knew what to do. He made those guidelines. He raised the quality. We used to always take normal flights when we were, for example, if we were playing in Austria against Austria, we would fly to London, have a stopover for maybe 4 hours, and then fly to Austria. But now we always take a charter. Details like this matter. The style of play is obviously very important, and Iceland played 4-4-2, defensively, zonal, and it fitted the group perfectly. Everybody knew exactly what to do. Role clarity, that's a key word. Everybody knew what to do in every position. And it's really easy to analyze the Icelandic team, but still it's very difficult to play against it. You know, you probably know this when you're playing the big nations. It's easy to be the underdog. Everybody are expected to win Iceland. And most of the time we're underdogs. Even though we were number 17 on the FIFA ranking list, we were playing nations like maybe, let's just say, Italy, who were then maybe number 25. Obviously, they felt that they should win us, even though we were higher on the list. And we agreed. So it's such a privilege always to be the underdog because you have nothing to lose. And we have actually struggled sometimes when we're playing nations that are supposed to be weaker than us, because it's a whole other thing. The mentality as well. Yeah, like I said, when we played England in the Euros in the last 16s, you know, the newspaper were telling, if we lose, this will be the worst results in the history of English football. That's not a nice pressure to have on you when you go play. So they obviously lost. The national team coach resigned, and this was a scandal. But we were actually the better team in the game. So it's a pressure of the big teams that we don't have to do. Like I said earlier, the mentality is a really big thing for us. And some would say it was luck, but if you go to the Euros and go to the quarterfinals, and then you have this incredibly strong qualifying group for the World Cup, and you go, luck is not the main thing. I think that's just hard work. Yes, just to sum it up in the end. So it's an amateur football in Iceland. You know, there are no rich owners. Equality, similar service to all the kids, and in every club is similar. The coaches get paid, and they have qualifications, and all the kids get service from day one. The facilities are paid by the municipalities, the clubs run them, and that's how we can pay the coaches. We do more than one sport, and it's ability based. You train and play with your equals. And the mentality is hard working. You need to work hard if you want to be successful in Icelandic sports. Yeah, I think this is it from me.
Thank you very much, Anna. What we're going to do is, Anna, I'm going to start off with the first question, but what I'm going to ask you coaches to do, please use the raise hand option if you'd like to ask a question, and I would acknowledge you. So please use the raise hand option. Anna, my first question to you would be, just give us an idea based on, as head of coach education, based on just some of the topics covered in the UEFA B&A for your coaches, because obviously there's sports science, there's psychology, and so just give us an idea of some of the topics covered, because you're talking about the player from day one, the young players getting qualified coaches. So obviously they'll have to have some level of psychology. So can you talk about some of the topics covered, please?
Yeah, first of all, it's important to know that we are part of the UEFA coaching convention. So UEFA, they set the rules. They say, okay, if you want to have a UEFA B license, you will need at least to have 120 hours. Half of it has to be on the pitch. You will need to do at least 20 hours of technical training, 20 hours of tactical, 10 hours of psychology, and so on. So UEFA has a framework. But how we teach the technical part, the psychology part, the fitness part is up to us. The first, the UEFA B, the UEFA C, it's a lot about child safeguarding. It's a lot about, the environment for children, and grown-ups are not the same. Don't go in and teach the kids like you teach the grown-ups. It's supposed to be fun. Have small-sided games, very important. Have 1-on-1, 2-on-2, 3-on-3. Don't go in and play 11v11 or 7v7 with 6-year-olds. Have fun, the physical part is not important to begin with. It's all about technique. The golden generation to learn the motor skills, things like that. Try other sports, because then you get better motor skills. So it's all about children first. Go to their level, make it fun, make it technical.
And just as a follow-up, and also as a statement, you talk about don't do early specialization, because that seems to be not only in our culture. People feel, well, if they get an early start, and I know my time, I say with all humility, my time in the States, the parents are paying all these extra coaches and extra sessions, and people are making a lot of money. Just I'll get your child very good, come and do extra training, and I love what you said, based on talent identification and the theory behind it. You really can't tell, is that player really going to make it to the end? Because I just saw a study that only 7% of those type of players make it to the national teams.
Mm-hmm. So the question was, sorry.
just more so about early specialization. If you could just chat a little bit about that, please.
I think, you know, you mentioned USA and the system they have. It's very different from ours, and it's not my place to come and say their system is not good. But you know, it sounds like the only way to be a good player in USA is because your parents can afford to pay for you, which is obviously not good. The early specialization, I really believe when you do more kinds of sport, you get more kind of moving patterns. You know, going to athletics or gymnastics, for example, when you're young, you get fantastic core, fantastic
flexibility and
motor skills and things like that. So obviously, and how are you gonna specialize in football when you're 7? Are you gonna train 7 times a week? You only get 3 sessions a week, maybe. So then there's enough time to do other sports. So like I said, we have 10 organized sessions a week, and you do 2 or 3 sports, and it's just good. It's healthy. But you can find researchers that say, okay, it's better to specialize early. But how are you going to specialize early when you're 8? Are you going to train the kids 6 times a week football? I'm not sure. I don't know any country that does that.
Because you have to have the fun element. You talked about the schools doing the extra sessions. Is it something that the schools did and you guys just asked your players to do, or is it something that you went into the schools and asked them to put on these different sessions?
No, the school, like I was saying, there's no organized football sessions in the school. There are sports sessions, but the PE teacher, the physical education teacher in the school, he does all kinds of things with them. They might get 2 weeks of football and then 2 weeks of basketball. So we don't have any cooperation with the school. But during the breaks in school, they go out and play on the mini pitches, for example. So that my emphasis was really saying that all the sports, organized sports, specialized sports happens in the clubs. So you stay in the school until 2 o'clock and then you go into the clubs and do your sports.
Okay. Coaches, please, love you to ask some questions. Can you just, guys, just show a raise of hand? We'd love you guys to ask some questions. Yes, sure. Sheldon, please unmute and ask your question, please, Sheldon. Welcome.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. So quick question. I was wondering the size of the pitch, the mini pitch that are done at the schools. Is it a 5-a-side? And that was one question. The other one was, what's the age group on the spread of the 7 full-time national coaches, male and female? So which teams are they allocated to? Thank you.
Yeah, the pitches, the mini pitches you saw outside, the size is like, it's similar to a basketball court, I would think. It varies a little bit. But when they play 5-a-side in tournaments, it's like for the youngest one, it's like 1/8 of a pitch. If you split the pitch up in 8 parts, that's the size of the pitch pretty much. When they get a little bit older, then it's maybe 1/6 part of the pitch. Depends on the age. Sorry, I don't have the exact meters for you. And
okay, that's fine.
And the national team coaches, we have a system. Our youngest national team is under 15, but we start with the under 13. Then we have kind of an elite program, but we don't have national games there. So we have 2 coaches on the women's side that take care of the under 16, 17, and 19 team. 2 coaches take care of these 3 teams. The same system on the men's side. They take care of the under 19, under 17, and under 16. We do not have an under 18 team. Then we have 1 coach who takes care of this elite program from 13 up to 15. And then we have a full-time A national team coaches as well. The under 21 coach is not a full-time coach.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Dwayne Davis, please, Coach Dwayne.
Great presentation. I love the information, especially how you all design your program around your culture. So that's really good stuff. What I wanted to know with respect to the where are your schools generally located, and the children go to school? Do they usually go to school right in their area, or they go to schools outside of their area?
It's the same as in the sports club. It's in the neighborhood. So usually the kids can walk for 5 minutes or bike for 5 minutes to go to school. And often the school and the facilities for the football club are almost on the same area. So this is obviously such a privilege to have such an easy access both to the school and to the sports club.
Great. With respect to the certification of the coaches, this is a separate question. What is the possibility of you all doing something for us here in Trinidad?
Sorry, I didn't get that.
What is the possibility of you all doing like badges for us in Trinidad, UEFA B, UEFA A, etc.? How could a Trinidadian get a badge from you?
How can you do the same thing as we are doing? If I'm asking,
yes,
sorry.
Through your federation, is it possible for us to get it through your federation?
It's possible for everyone to take the badges in every country pretty much, but you have to know the language. And to learn the Icelandic language it takes much longer time than to do your football badges in other countries. It's a very difficult language. But I get an email every week from around the world, people asking to come to our courses, but they always get the same answers. If you can understand and speak Icelandic, you're welcome to apply.
Okay, thanks.
Okay. Come on, guys, go ahead. You guys are doing a fantastic job. Can we have some more questions, please? As we have Anna with us for a short while again. Yes, is it Pius Aparicio? Please go ahead and unmute and ask your question.
Good morning, everyone. One of my questions to the coaches, I noticed that you all have a league with 12 teams in that league. Do you all have semi-professional leagues? And secondly, how involved the clubs are with the development of academies, if you all have any?
Yeah, first of all, about the academies, we don't have any academies, but the clubs and the cooperation between the clubs and the FA is very strong. We acknowledge that the clubs, they make the players. And like I was saying, Dion, yesterday, when they come to us, and we mainly focus on tactics and set pieces because we are taking them to tournaments. So all the development of the players are in the clubs. So the clubs are the ones who should be applauded for good players, not the Icelandic FA. The league system. The question was, we have 12 teams in the league, and the question, sorry, was. If the clubs are involved.
No, the second question is that we have 12 leagues. There are 12 teams in the league, but do you have a semi-professional league?
Yeah. He was asking more about a tier system, if you have a tier system, yeah.
If I have what? A
tier system, so level 1, level 2,
promotion,
relegation.
Yes,
okay.
Yes, of course. All the leagues are semi-professional. We have a tier system. We have 5 tiers: first division, second, third, fourth, and fifth. The fifth one is regional. So we have a tier system, and there are foreign players playing in all the leagues. But obviously, the first league is best, and the second league is second best, and so on. And players get paid in at least the top 3, and the most salaries are obviously in the top 1 tier. Yeah.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, thank you. Declan, please go ahead.
Good morning.
Morning.
All right, so you say that all the coaches must have a UEFA B to start with. How do you evaluate and reevaluate and reassess coaches over a period of time to ensure that they fall in line with the directives given?
Yeah, to begin with, all the coaches have started coaching before they enter the coaching courses. So you might get a job at a club, you will staff there, maybe work for 2 or 3 months, and then they will send you to a course to us. During the course, they need to do a written exam. We watch them while they train out on the pitch. And one of the things that is really strong in Iceland is that we visit them in the club environment, what they call reality-based learning. So when they're on the UFOB license, before they graduate, they need to get a visit from one of our tutors who comes and watches them train 3 training sessions. And it's a relaxed atmosphere. There's trust, and you're just talking together. Say, okay, there are too many lines there. The players are waiting for long, or even just small details like you need more air in the balls and things like that. So when you go then to the next level, to the A license, then it's more about tactic. It's more serious, and then you also get a tutor for three times, and it always gets more advanced if it gets UFOB, UFA, and then UFO Pro license. So we evaluate them with written exams. We evaluate them, watching them on the pitch, giving them feedback for that. Sometimes they need to return some written assignment as well. So yeah, we really demand some quality if they're going to get their badges.
All right, thanks very much.
You talked about earlier, Arnar, about the mentality of the players, and I something you said kind of struck me there, where okay, there's a very good dribble, very good goal, okay, that's well done, congratulations, but you put a lot of emphasis on praising attitude, which tends to be it's a lot sometimes the reverse. And I'm not knocking anybody here, but in things that I've seen, but that is very, very, very interesting, because you don't really hear that often. So much emphasis is being placed on mentality, and the follow-up question to that would be, I know it's part of the culture, but is it something that is also thought to the coaches to recognize and praise on the courses?
We talk a lot about it on the courses, but this is not something we recommend to the coaches. They do, like you said, it's obviously part of the culture. Maybe it's because it doesn't matter how good you are in football, you can always run, and there is no excuse from not running. So we often have the team who doesn't have the same quality, technical quality as the opponent. So we really need the other mentality part to do something good, and we do it in everything. Our kids, they're always competing. My kids, when we go home, there's a competition who's first from the car and inside the house. There's a competition who's first to buckle up. So the competition who's first to finish the glass of milk. And we say, yeah, well done. It's work hard, compete. It's a value in Iceland, and maybe it's because that we are not that good in the other aspect of the game.
Okay, now point well taken. Jefferson George, please go ahead, Jefferson. Welcome.
Hi, thanks for the presentation, Arnar. Great stuff. Good afternoon, I guess, by you are. One of the things that, well, of course, we noticed Iceland placed Trinidad and Tobago as the smallest nation to qualify for a Senior World Cup, right? But how do you all treat with public expectation, or what is that like in Iceland, seeing that you've gotten that amount of success in a short period of time?
Yeah, so it's a good question. And this is the first time we have to handle that, because usually we didn't get these good results. In Iceland, like in every other country, everyone is a national team coach. Everyone has an opinion how to play and who are the good players. It's been difficult recently because we haven't gotten a lot of good results for the last 2 years. One of the main reasons is that our star players are injured or not willing to play because there's too much demand in the teams. But still, the public feels that we should be winning Italy. They really believe that they can beat everyone, and so it's not a problem. And it's better to have a nation who is full of confidence and believe in you than a nation who doesn't. So it's not been a problem, but you can feel that they're putting a pressure on the team who is not realistic, I can say. But it's not a problem. But sometimes we feel that we are what do you say, criticized unfairly.
All right, just to follow up on that, an excellent answer as well, because I believe this is the way I see it. You know, a lot of people, even coaches here, I think sometimes we have a false expectation on ourselves, not recognizing the huge disadvantage that, you know, countries that our size and, well, in our case, with our resources, we've gotten really, really, really good results. And I think a lot of the times we would have overachieved, right? As a country, 1.3 billion people, you know, with not a lot of resources, we've qualified for 3 Youth World Cups, right? 2 Under-20 World Cups and Under-17 World Cup, and also the Senior World Cups. And with that, you mentioned something about the pragmatism. Iceland won't be expected to go out and play like Barcelona and get results. You have to use what you have. And you mentioned a lot about the mentality and that attitude, that fight from within. And that becomes, you know, your strength. That becomes the asset that you are able to now, you know, go out and compete with teams that probably technically and in terms of their football would be on a higher level. And I think sometimes for us here, we miss that bit of pragmatism, because the generation that we look to that have got the results, they're gone, and we want to play like they played, but we don't have the players. You know, so I think we sometimes stuck in that moment where we maybe a little bit overambitious.
Yeah, this is something that can easily happen to us, because we see that our players are getting more technically gifted, our possession is getting better, but we also see that we don't have as many leaders as we used to. The life in Iceland is easy. You know, everyone has a PlayStation computer and an electronic scooter, and you know, it's easy life. And we believe, we are afraid that our mentality will maybe go down. So this is something that we might endure in the future. But I think the reason why football is the most popular sport in the world is because you always have a chance. You always can win. You have proved that. We have proved that. You know, if you play a game of basketball and you play, if the opponent plays better, he will win. But in football, you can play much worse but still win the game. So I think this is something that we have to remind ourselves, that there's always a chance, no matter how few we are.
Thanks a lot.
Yeah. Thank you. Gino Diaz, can you unmute and ask the question, please, Gino?
Hi, pleasant good day. I came in very late, but I just wanted to find out one thing from your operation in Iceland. How do you protect the investment of clubs within such a small country as Iceland? In regard to, do you have a transfer market? Because in Trinidad, basically what we have is just a slip of paper saying, okay, you're going to transfer from this club at the end of the season. How do you protect the investment of clubs within your country?
Well, first of all, it's not that much money involved in Icelandic football. We don't really have a transfer market. It doesn't happen very often that a club buys a player from another club. It happens once in a while. It's gotten more common now in the last years. But like I said, all the clubs are run by the society. The infrastructure is strong. There's a real strong focus on, you have to deliver a financial plan, and there is very difficult to do something with the money that you're not allowed to do. So, there isn't that much money involved in football here that we can have a problem with it, pretty much. But the money comes when we sell players abroad. That's where the money comes from, and basically that money goes into to get another foreign player in and who's good at football to raise the standard of the league. That's what happens most often.
Okay, so it's more based on respect amongst the coaches.
Yeah, just the culture of the society is like, we're just not used to buying players from each other, and we don't have problem with money like
because
that.
What happens is that if it is all your coaches at a level are qualified, qualifications cost money. So you're gonna have high competition amongst coaches. So people will be literally grabbing at players. How do you control that?
Yeah, well, luckily the clubs, they pay for the coaching courses. So if a coach in a club wants to do a license, the club pays for it. So there's no competition between the coaches of the qualification batches and things like that.
Because I'm just saying, like, yeah, whatever you do home, that's what you present to the world. So if you're doing something good to the world, then something's good happening in your house. So I just want to know how you control that level, the players within Iceland and the competition that you create, you know. So thanks.
Yeah, there isn't. I think the best players in Iceland, there's not a big competition between the clubs around these players. If, like I said in the beginning, which you probably missed, was you play with your neighborhood club and you go to the senior team there. If you're a really good player, you go abroad. But sometimes if there's a really good player playing in the second tier, and then there are maybe two clubs in the first tier who want to play, it's not a big competition. It's not a big money involved. It's a low fee. So it doesn't happen a lot where there's a big competition between the players, about the players.
Okay, thanks, Gino. Appreciate it. You muted at the end. Thank you. Dwayne Davis, did you have another question, Dwayne?
Yeah, I have another question. I understand the culture helps a lot in giving the quality to with respect to coaching and so on, right? With the government, basically the municipalities basically funding the sport. How do you keep equality in that in terms of bigger clubs and smaller clubs? Do all the clubs get the same finances, or is it a tier system? What is it?
It is. It's a good question. In Reykjavik, for example, Reykjavik community, there are 9 clubs, and the municipality needs to give everyone a good facilities. It's impossible that one club which is playing in the top league has better qualities, but we have a licensing system that says, if, for example, if you want to play in the highest league, you need to have a tribune with at least for 1,000 people, I think, and with a roof. And that costs a lot of money. Then the municipality has to step in. But you know, the society is just, you know, if one club gets good facilities, then the other clubs will come immediately and say, okay, we want the same. And the municipalities, they have to take care of everyone, you know. But I believe that they spread the money equally, I would think. So it's not, they don't favor any clubs more than others.
Thank you, Dwayne. Gerard, please. Gerard, go ahead.
Yeah, good morning, and thanks a lot, you know, for a very enlightening presentation. Listening to the presentation, I also got from it that in Iceland, you have a very strong community club base. And that said to me, once the community is involved, automatically that says to me that the parents are involved. And I'm linking that also to your point about the strong mentality, because you're saying that a lot of emphasis is placed on having a good mentality. Now, part of that good mentality is based on personal development, if I may say so. Personal development is linked sometimes and very often to academic development, good all-round development in terms of development of the person. So my question flows from that. I must ask, do you have a balance in your mind between academic development and the development in football, in the sense that You said that the players go to school in the morning and play in the afternoon. They participate in the clubs in the afternoon. What happens, naturally, other question, in the case of a player who might be failing academically, what is the pressure there? Is there always a need to strike a balance between the academics and the football or the sport development of the player? Because the parents are involved, and parents are naturally, I hear they must be involved in the academic development of their children. So is there a demand for a balance between the academics and the sport, and in this case, football, in your situation?
Yeah,
thank you.
Yeah, it is. There's a big demand on academic work in Iceland. Everyone goes to school. There are no exceptions, pretty much. I don't know anyone who doesn't go to school until the age of 16. And pretty much everyone goes to the next level, which is 16 to 20. And this is just a part of Iceland, you know, and the kids, they pick the school after quality. They don't necessarily pick a school where they can play more football. They often rather choose a better school, which it doesn't there are some schools who help you more in football terms. That is, maybe if you have to go to a lot of tournaments, the school will say, okay, it's okay because you're a football player. But other schools will say, no, you have to do your work in the school. So, but the kids, they are not picking the schools after how well they treat the football players. They pick the school after how good the schools are. So you can say that the mindset of most of the players in Iceland are that school is more important than football. But then again, you have 30,000 players. Only 1% of them become a professional players abroad. So obviously those who are the best, who can see the opportunity to become the best and go abroad, they might be focusing more on the football. But that's a very small percentage. Like in every football in every country, a very small percent of the players go all the way to become a full-time professional players abroad, that is. But the school is very important here. And most of the players, almost all the players who go abroad as professional, they will try to finish the school system 16 to 20 online. You know, many just drop school as soon as they become professional players. But in Iceland, you know, almost everyone finishes school. And many of Icelandic players do the university, even though they're professional players abroad, they do the university degree alongside the football. So the academic work is very, very important.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, Declan, please.
Yeah. All right. I have two questions, right? What is the involvement of past players, you know, for example, like Gunnarson, Gunnarson, Herman Haraldsson, you know, in the Icelandic football, right? Do they come back and give some input, or they use them as scouts internationally? How we all integrate them into the system?
Yeah, they are a big part of, you know, most of the coaches in the highest league, for example, are former professional players. Sorry. Funny you should mention those two players. Arnar Bill Gunnarsson is the assistant coach for the A national team now. He's finishing his A license. Herman Haraldsson is a coach for a lower team club, but he's also the assistant coach for the under-21 team. So obviously we want them, but here's the very important thing. They need to do the badges as well. Gunnarson, he had to do the B license. He was doing a B license with kids who are assistant coaches in the clubs. You know, player who won the Champions League. He was doing the same thing as a 16-year-old kid who was an assistant coach in the club. And fortunately, their mentality was good. They tried to give a lot to the other ones. But we have fast tracks a little bit for the professional players in some areas of our system. For example, when you finish the B license, all the coaches need to work for at least 1 year before entering the A license. But the professional player can go straight from the B to A. They don't need a 1 year. So they have a small fast track. And also on the A license, we pick the coaches in. There are too many coaches who apply, so we need to pick them. And we have a system, experience in coaching and playing and things like that. So the formal professional coaches like Gunnarson, they automatically get into that course. But otherwise, they need to start from scratch like everyone else.
Okay. All right. And my second question is, in regards to the diaspora of Icelandic persons who probably live in Norway or Denmark, you know, in these Scandinavian countries or all over the world, how you all keep tabs on them?
Today it's easy. You know, we used to have to fly and watch them play and meet coaches and things like that. But now you have all the software like, do you know, Instat and Y-Scout and those softwares, which records every game in the world pretty much, and you buy access to these softwares, so you can watch almost every game live. They even make analysis of the matches of individual players. But it's important still to go and visit them, just for the human touch, to have dialogue one-on-one. Obviously, it's been difficult for the last 2 years because of the pandemic, but we don't need to go as much to watch them play because we get the recordings of the game, 1 hour after the game if you don't see them live. So it's easy to follow today.
Thank you.
Thank you. Brandon, please.
Hello, good morning. Great presentation. Going back to the leagues itself and the community and their part that they play, the players who you say they don't get paid as much and they do have another job. That will just ask me to ask, how is the job market in Iceland, and is it that the club or the community provides those jobs for the players?
Yeah, there is not a lot of unemployment in Iceland, and it's quite. If you really want a job, you get a job. Often when a player switches clubs or goes from up to the senior team and he needs a job, the club can provide a job for him. Somebody in the club knows someone who can fix a job for him. So often they get jobs through the club. Sometimes the foreign players, especially in the lowest league, when they come and we can't afford to have them fully professionals, we will find a job for them on the side. They might work in the fishery environment, for example. We are a big fishing nation, so they might work there in the morning and play football in the afternoon. But yeah, there's a connection. Sometimes you get a job through the club, sometimes you get a job on your own, and often they are doing the university alongside the football, especially the younger ones.
Okay, so is it mandatory or it's just for you to survive?
No, it's okay. Just for you to survive.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Sheldon. Coach Sheldon.
Hi again, Arnar. Just a quick question on one of the comments that you made. You mentioned the software. Can you tell us the name of the software that that's possible to have access to the matches and the analysis?
Yeah, it's called Instat, one of them, and the other one is Y-Scout. These are probably the two biggest one, I think. Do you agree with me, Dion?
Yes, certainly.
Yeah. So we, for example, we have a contract with Y-Scout, and all the clubs in the top 2 leagues, they get an access there where they can watch the game afterwards, and Y-Scout or Instat, they have already, analyzed the game, and you can see all the clips with this player, you can see all the set pieces and so on. There are lots of data. It's quite expensive, I think, but I'm quite sure that the games from your league, Trinidad and Tobago League, is in the system. I would guess that. Maybe Dion can comment on that. I don't know.
Thank you.
No, those are the two main brands. If I could ask a question, Arne, from your experience, and not just only in Iceland, but what about players who have obviously played at a very high level? And I know I had this talk with some people in England also, players who have played at a very high level and always going to do their coaching badges. There's always a bit of a, should I, I don't know if I should do it. And how do you see in terms of bridging that gap for that player who thinks, obviously I played the game, maybe Champions League, World Cup, how do you get them to realize that there's a scientific way of coaching, the methodology has to apply? What would you say would be if you say a secret to get that message across, to help them to understand that it's different?
You pretty much don't need the secret. It's just a rule. You have to do it. But I always tell them, okay, you have all this knowledge, but many of your colleagues who have all this knowledge, they don't know how to express this knowledge to other people. And this is what you learn already on the first course, is how to teach, how to get your message across, where to stand, how to do a drill that goes well, and how to teaching methods, for example. You know, you can have all the knowledge in the world, you can be the best player in the world, but you have no idea how to get them across. It's easy to put up a training session, but you need to know when to stop, how to stop, what questions to ask, what details to work on. So I think this is what they gain most from the first courses. This is not what we teach them on the later courses. You get this in the beginning. So this is a vital thing. And all of them say, okay, you know, half of the things I was talking to on the courses, this is something I knew, but also I didn't know anything about this and this and that. So I learned a lot as well. So.
Totally understandable. Totally understandable.
Yeah.
Declan, you had another question?
No, I don't know how the symbol didn't come down.
Yeah, nice. Still had it up.
Okay.
So we have a few more minutes. Any more questions before we wrap up? Any more questions? Jared, go ahead, Jared. Sorry, Coach Jared.
Yeah, I just had a question concerning late developers because I'm hearing the coaching method. You have A, B, C, D teams, and there might even be cases where someone is in another sport and probably is not aware that he might in fact be able to transfer or transition into becoming a top footballer. That notion of the late developer, somebody who is probably at D level, maybe in the initial stages in your estimation, and probably through some process blossoms maybe at a later age. You think you miss that person, or you always are vigilant, or you look out for that kind of player, the late developers?
Yeah, this is obviously a big topic in Iceland, like in every other country. You know, you have in the national teams, you mostly have players born early in the year and things like that. But we are very on top of this, and I actually think our system is so good because if you were in an academy and you were playing number 20 and there are only 11 on the pitch, you don't play any minutes. But because we have an A and B and C and D, you always have games. And there's the same coach for the A team and the D team. So we can always watch and see if he's taking steps forward. So in other systems, you might, just drop out because you don't get anything to do. But here you always get games. So if you're underdeveloped, especially physically, you're maybe technically good enough to play for the A team, but you can't handle it physically. So maybe it's better that you play for the B team until your physical attributes are good enough to handle the A team. So I think having A, B, C, and D actually helps us keeping everyone involved. Nobody wants to quit because he doesn't get any games, because there are enough games for everyone. And that the coaches are supposed to be professional enough to watch everyone and see if those who are developing later.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you. Michael Defoe. Coach Michael.
Well, good morning to everybody, and nice to have you, Mr. Speaker. I would like to ask a question in understanding how your scouting of your national teams from an administrative standpoint, how it is set up so that you can actually monitor your players and know who is going into what team and so on. Not how it is set up administratively. and by whom?
Yeah. Like I said in the beginning of the presentation, it's so good to be few sometimes. And this is one of the times, because like I said before, we only have 47 clubs in Iceland all the players are in these 47 clubs that we need to monitor. And the coaches themselves, the national team coaches themselves pretty much administrate the whole thing. They contact the clubs, they go and watch games, they go and watch training session. And this is one of the reasons how we got them to be full-timers. They used to be part-timers, but we at the technical department, we managed to talk to the board and convince them that having a full-time coaches would be better. So they pretty much organize everything themselves, the coaches. So they talk on the phone with the clubs. They go visit the clubs. They go watch games. They contact the clubs when they are putting together squads for training session. They organize pretty much everything themselves.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much. Coach Wayne Shepherd, welcome, Coach Shepherd.
Hi, good day. I wanted to ask two questions. Just now the connection kind of broke up. So I'm gonna kind of piggyback on the question concerning the late developers. Does the Belgium FA introduce something in terms of shadow teams for the national youth teams, where late developers who are talented players, but probably are kept out of the starting 11 by bigger players or slightly better players, are allowed to play at a national level, but like on a national B team. Does Iceland subscribe to this? That's question number one. Or do you see this as a proper means of development? That's question number one. And question number two, I heard from you and read before about the number of licensed coaches in Iceland. So licensing or being licensed allows you to conduct sessions with a certain standard, working from simple to more complex. The information, the football philosophy of Iceland, how often is that document or philosophy looked at and adjusted from the FA?
Okay, let's start with question number one about the Belgium. I think they call it the future team. I actually visited Belgium to learn about it. I think it's good. I think it's excellent from them. They have a team. I think Denmark has been doing the same things. But to be fair, we don't have enough players to fill up a squad of underdeveloped players. We're so few. But we really take care. For example, when we started the age group under 13 till under 15, we really encourage the clubs to send us the smaller technically gifted players as well. We don't want the big players. We not only want the big players who are match winners at that time, but send us the technically gifted players as well. So we are really encouraging that. But I really like the Belgium idea, but we don't have that many players, to be fair, to field a decent team with underdeveloped players. So yeah, and again, it's easier for us because we're so few to really follow those who we can see that have talent, but will blossom later. The second question about the licensing systems, the philosophy. Here's the funny part. We don't really have a football philosophy in Iceland. It's like, it's the culture. What we do in the FA, we don't teach one kind of football. We go in and say, okay, there are all kinds of styles in play. There are all kinds of formation. There's no one way that we feel that the club should teach. We want them, they go, a lot of coaches in Iceland go abroad to see what's happening. And usually we are maybe 1 or 2 years behind what's happening in Europe, but we don't have any philosophy that we push to the clubs. It's a philosophy. It's it's a part of our culture. Not all the clubs play the same style of football, but like Dion has told me often, we need more structures inside the clubs. They would be better if there was a structure and philosophy inside of each clubs. But because we don't have many full-time employees in the clubs, it's difficult to do it. But it kind of runs on culture here. Every coach goes through the same system in the Icelandic FA when they do the licenses, but we try to teach them as many variations of football as possible. We don't want everyone to be the same. Hope that answered the question.
Thank you.
Thank you, Wayne. Coach Roger Griffith.
Yes, good morning to everyone. What I like to find out is about your elite program. I'll give a little synopsis on it. How do you select people into your elite program? The size of it and the focus of the elite program.
An elite program is pretty much just what's happening in the national teams. Like I said before, we have full-time coaches that go around, watch games, watch training session, get the best players together, maybe 30 best players in the country in each age group, get them together, and from that they pick maybe the best 22 to go to a tournament. Otherwise, all the elite job that's done, it's done inside each club. So our elite program is not that we pick out players and meet them often. We don't get the players often. Obviously the FA would like to get the players more often, but the clubs would probably want us to get them fewer times because it's always a small class with that, but nothing serious. So our elite program is pretty much, just the national teams fielding a team to compete in tournaments is pretty much.
Okay, thank you, Roger. Coach Dwayne Davis, Coach Dwayne.
Yeah, it was about the elite program. I was gonna ask in terms of exactly what he answered there. How do they fit the national program in to the yearly program with the clubs and everything?
Yeah, it's like I said. For example, during the winter, we get the squad of players born, for example, 2005. We pick the best players and they come every 6 weeks. They come to us and train for 3 days. Then we might have a squad of 30 players. And then there comes a tournament in Europe that we need to participate in, and then we pick the best players. So, and most of the time in these training sessions, we are, like I said, we are working on tactics and set pieces to prepare ourselves to be able to compete. So the elite work of the players is 99% done in the clubs. So when they come to us, we are not spending our time making them better technically. We try to make them better tactically maybe, but technically, for example, is all done in the clubs, each club for itself.
Thank you. And just Coach Wayne Shepherd, you had another question? Coach Wayne Shepherd.
No, I don't. Just like that, the symbol didn't come down for me. I was trying to take it down.
No, that's cool. Not a problem at all. Coach Sheldon Seals, we will take like 2 or 3 more questions and then we're going to wrap up this. So Coach Sheldon Seals, please.
Okay, quickly, we mentioned the 5-tier system. So can you just give us an idea for the different age groups? Like what are the different leagues for the different age groups, both male and female? That's it.
The Icelandic FA, they start organizing tournaments from the age of 12. So the under 12s are organized tournaments where they compete for the Icelandic Championship through the summer, and there are some winter tournaments as well. From the 10 and younger, the clubs organize every tournament. So it will be like a weekend tournament. So some club will just advertise, say, we're going to have a tournament here in 4 weeks' time. And then the other clubs will contact them, okay, we would like to enter. We have 2 B teams, 2 A teams, and things like that. So that's pretty much how it is. So the under 10s, under 10, under 8, under 6 are playing 5v5. The under 12s are playing 8v8, and under 13 and older are playing 11v11. But the Icelandic FA starts organizing the tournaments from the age of 12. I hope that answered the question.
Thank you. Yes, it did. Thank you.
Sure. Declan, you had a question, please?
Yeah. All right. In terms of planning, right? How long does the federation allocate planning for? So let me just say you have outline a 10-year plan, a 20-year plan, and then you say in the first 5 years, this is what we would like to see. And then you have your 10-year objective, right? And in 10 years, you would like to see, this state of advancement, how that went about, because I know in 2016, would have been the pinnacle of, Icelandic football reaching the Euros to start with.
Yeah, that's a decent question, but I'm sure that the answer is not going to be as decent. A lot of people think that the success of the Icelandic football team is down to some kind of strategic plans and plotting and things like that, but it pretty much just happens. It's just the culture. It's the manpower, it's the people behind it. You can't go into the Icelandic FA's webpage and find a five-year plan. We recently started doing it, but I cannot say that we have some fantastic documents that shows what we are going to do in the future. Obviously, all of the employees of the Icelandic FA are constantly doing seminars and working with UEFA and trying to get better. And the same with the clubs, but I cannot say that we have a long development plan that we're working on. It depends a little bit on different divisions inside the FA. Some of the clubs have their own plan, but I would not say that we have a really focused and good development plan for the next 5 years. Maybe it's in a drawer for the general secretary. I don't know.
No, thank you. So, Arnar, just to wrap up, any advice you'd like to give to the coaches as to regards to coach education and the importance of it? Any final advice?
Yeah, I think every coach should do a coaching license, because you always learn something. You always get better, and also you meet the other coaches. You get good connections. It's so good. Every time we have a coaching seminar here, or if we get maybe a foreign coach in, all the coaches come together, and when the presentation is over, we need to shove them out because they want to talk so much to each other. So there are a lot of things about it. I think the football is developing so fast, and the FA, most of the FAs, I would say, are on top of things, and every new thing that happens, I try to implement in our courses for our coaches. So just to be up to date, it's also important to go in and learn something. So, and like I said before, even though you've been a fantastic player, it doesn't mean you will become a fantastic coach. I think most of the best coaches were former players, but all of them have done their badges. If you listen to podcasts or so read some books about the top coaches, they all did their badges in the past, and they are very grateful for it. So for us, it's crucial. It's a rule, and I encourage everyone to do their badges, and especially, like I said in the beginning of the presentation, take care of the youngest players. Get good coaches for them. Teach them how to train, teach them how to conduct themselves, and teach them how to fall in love with the game. There you get the best players.
Thank you very, very much, Coach Arnar. On behalf of the Trinidad and Tobago Football Association, on behalf of the FIFA Trinidad Normalization Committee, we'd like to thank you for taking your time off of your schedule to come and share with us. Very, very enlightening. Very, very enlightening. And I know we got so many good parts of it. The presentation will be shared with the coaches. It will be shared with the coaches, so they have an idea, a chance for the ones who are here to revise, and for the ones who are not here to go over. So we are going to put it up for them to share. So again, thank you very, very much. and we want to wish Iceland all the very best. And we know we now have an idea, a little bit behind the scenes of what makes Iceland stand out. You know, even being a small nation of 300,000 plus people, but what makes you stand out? You know, as FIFA says, you know, you can only put 11 on the field at a time, and you guys have certainly brought your mentality and your culture on the field, and it is quite noticeable even across here in Trinidad and Tobago. So we want to thank you for giving us hope, because, you know, for a small nation, we always want that hope, and knowing that we can compete with well, for you it's Italy, for us it will be the Mexicos and the USAs. So again, thank you very much. Coaches, if you want to put some comments in the chat about what you thought about the presentation, you can do so now. But Coach, we want to really want to thank you for taking the time. I mean, I know you do this quite often, but we really do appreciate it.
Yeah, and it's a pleasure. Next time I would like to come over and get some heat in my body and do the presentation live. It would be nice. But it was a pleasure, and it's always nice to talk to fellow coaches across the world. It's great, and I've never ever had so many questions. So that was great. So I'm really pleased with that.
Nah, that's awesome. We're really happy to have you. Really happy to have you. Right, and because these coaches that we have, we try to do the seminars every week, and we have quite a few coaches that come on every week, which is quite phenomenal, and that in itself says a lot. The coaches are willing to pick up information and improve themselves. That also is very commendable to all the coaches.
Okay, very good.
Thank you. So for coaches tomorrow, if you have your players and you want them to come in here, Kaleem Highland will be doing his motivational talk with the youths from 2 to 3:30 p.m. So you're more than welcome to get your players on. Kaleem is going to just share his life experiences being a national team captain and playing in Europe and what he had to go through. So again, thank you very much. And we will be signing off in about 10 seconds. You guys have a wonderful day. Thank you very much.
Have a good one.
Thank you, Arnar.
Yeah, bye-bye.
Bye. Enjoy it.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Excellent.
Thank you, yeah, thanks very much.
Most welcome. Most welcome, guys. Most
Guys,
welcome.
bye-bye.
I'll give the little countdown. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and thank you, everybody.